That's right. What? I can see it. It's true. You know, two things. Whenever we talk about athleticism in a sport, it's one of those things where you kind of go, you're describing somebody, and you're like, no, it's this really big dude, you're like a big football player guy, right? And that automatically evokes a thing, big powerlifting dude. Or you go, this motherfucker's like just like really chiseled and like really thin and kind of wiry, like really like muscle, but really wiry, like like real swimmer or whatever. I'm gonna say there's a vast potential for misreading the lesson there, but um, no, but those things that we think of as um readily crossover. So there's athleticism to it, but we know it requires a lot of skill or the development of like toughness or endurance or grit or know-how, technique. And then there are other things that we don't think of that have to have skill applied to them, but we automatically associate things like when some nightclub somewhere hires a bunch of big bodybuilder types to be bouncers, right? That doesn't mean shit. You know what I mean? Are these bouncers also skilled combatants? Like are they trained in this area? Like just being big just mean, like if you want a couch moved around, sure, like well, if you want to move around well. And not that it doesn't take skill to get there, right? It takes a lot of skill to get there, but they're different skill sets. And learning how to move weight or train your body in a specific way consistently to notice the results is something that we overlook a lot as like it's the development of you always preach this, John, like you're developing a skill at the same time you're trying to reach a goal. The way that I always say it is the furniture maker. You want to make furniture. Like let's say that you want a specific like chair design or cabinetry, and no one's able to really match the vision that you have. So you go, well, you know what, I'll just make it myself. And then the collective like, oh yeah, that's a great idea, sure. But then there's the inevitable question like, well, and people are like, oh, that's great, yeah, the only way for you to really truly get what you want is for you to be able to produce it, right? And then the inevitable question comes up, or you inevitably hit the wall of, well, do you know how? Like, do you know how to? Right? Yeah. Do you know how to use all the woodworking tools and all that shit? And you're like, oh no, but I'll learn. Right? Well, are you artistic to be able to put this? No, but I'll learn that too. You have to develop, and you might, but you have to develop those skills on your way to that goal. And that don't know it. Yeah. Um, mhm, mhm, mhm. Uh-huh. Not at all. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, I think that's probably a fair assessment. Um, Go ahead. Mhm. You fine? Oh, that's okay. One thing about, you talked about stimulus, like having the right environment for you is important. Some people, for whatever reason, don't like to go to the gym. Some people do. Some people like to work out at home, and some people don't. Some people don't like to do either one of those things and prefer to go get all of their stimulus like outdoors. Like running or climbing trees or whatever. There's one group that used to meet in city where I used to live, where all of their training aspects were done downtown. It's a parkour group and parkour, but no, like it was a legit parkour group. It was the only parkour group then in that city, but they would only meet like in areas around where there was just a lot of natural structure and stuff, right? And they did very, very, very little indoors. Not, I'm sorry, building structures. Yeah, the natural landscape of the built up city. Anyway, oh, I want to tell you that I found this the other day, John. So you're welcome. I'm going to save that. I'm going to mail that to your home address. Uh, anyway, well, yeah, which leads me into different kinds of stimulus. Look, the thing about working out is looking silly or feeling silly is not the same as being safe, right? Everybody feels silly when you're first starting to do something simply because you're not familiar with it. You don't have familiarity with it. I'll tell you something about Rocky specifically, though. The theme music to the original Rocky endures and has influenced like every montage training sequence in movies afterward. Kind of like the way that um, there's very little in the way of science fiction that doesn't owe something to Star Wars, right? Or I'm sorry, to also to Star Trek as far as like television stuff goes. There's nothing in sci-fi that doesn't owe something to that, right? There's nothing in a montage, especially like a training montage, that won't owe something to Rocky. Oh yeah, yeah, right. Furthermore, I have never put on the theme music to Rocky for a client that didn't do two things, and they all do the same two things. They roll their eyes, and then they start training just a little bit harder. Right. like every time. All right. So without further ado, let's get to it. It's all right. Performance anxiety happens. Yeah. Um, Bill Conti, Bill Conti, Conti is the composer of the original music. So if you want to look that up on Spotify or something. Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. So here we're starting off running. Uh, don't see too much wrong with that so far. Uh huh. Uh huh. Yeah. Yes. As a matter of fact, they do. So for an example, um, if you have access to it, you can do this. Uh, get a couple of like simple 5 pound dumbbells, 3 pound dumbbells, right? And just hold them like this and mimic like making a shot into a basket from anywhere. Do that, I don't know, 20 reps, 4 sets. Then go grab a basketball and shoot it at the basket. Yeah, and you will find that you put that fucking thing into orbit, right? So like, and you didn't mean to. So yes, it does help. It helps with both speed, uh, power. It doesn't really help with accuracy, but speed and power, accuracy is something you have to work on. But yes, it does help with speed and power. In that it allows you to figure out they're actually it's multifaceted because it allows you to figure out what angles you're going to throw from that are the most supported versus those that are not. I mean, if I'm holding a weight up and I move my arm out like this and I feel some specific pinch because now it's loaded, where I can move my arm out like this all day long and it's fine. But if I have it loaded with some kind of weight and I go to move it and I feel some kind of effort that or some kind of impingement that feels like it could result in injury, I'll know that I need to shift the angle or change the trajectory just a bit. Because when you go to land, right, like it might be fine when you're unloaded, but when you go to land and you make that impact, right, those muscular structures that are speeding toward that thing, it's not just the speed, but it's also the power that you put behind it. There's a video of this woman who is like picking up this rabbit, right? And she's gonna go like take it to go get it, or she's trying to hold up this rabbit to give it a shot or something. And this other rabbit runs over there and starts fucking beating the shit out of her leg, right? Like very, very quickly. And she's laughing at it. It's like quicker than shit, man. It's like really fast, but has no power behind it whatsoever, right? So to muster any power behind that, it's not just the speed, but it's not just how quickly you're shooting it out there, but it's also the leverage that you intend to put forward once you strike. So yeah, weighted hands can go a long way into showing you what's going to work, how fast you're going to be able to deliver it, and then when it's unloaded, how much power you can handle sending forward. It's all of those things at once. It's quite frankly, for striking, it's an in value. You cannot place a top value on the practice of it. 100%. And the key word there though was jogging. You don't want to haul ass, right? Now, right. Yeah. When you don't want to sprint. Now you'll notice that whenever he's running, he's actually doing this really well because as he's jogging, he's taking these short little clip steps. His movements are tight, right? He's not running full out because there's a lot of those tight little movements that you have to perform, right? You see there? He's landing on the balls of his feet. His heels are staying very, very light. Now he's taking a little bit longer strides as he's running down the street. By the way, in the movie, this part was unscripted, and where all these people start following him, nobody was paid, nobody was informed about that. That vendor that just threw him that orange, it, yeah, did so unprompted. 100%. Yeah, he sold his dog to make this movie. Yeah. Um, but the speed bag work, yeah, really, really good speed bag work. His elbows are down. Now, pause it right here. Now, the only negative that I would say here is that arm is a little wrenched too far around his back. Or I'm sorry, his elbow is a little too high. Okay. So if we observe this part, right, this shoulder has to twist just a little too far forward as this hand goes across his back. Just a little. I mean, that really is nitpicking because there's no load bearing on it. Over here, when you look at his foot, the inside edge of his foot, the way that's load bearing, the way his foot is placed, it allows for this knee to bend outward this way as needed. It's not locked. This heel is pointed largely up toward the legendary Burgess Meredith here. Um, um, anyway, the well, wait, but the big thing here is that whenever he's going down into these push-ups, whenever you're going into any kind of push-up, and one of the failings of like a chaturanga or any push-up that you see in fitness or anything is when the load-bearing shoulder rolls forward, right? And the problem with that is that when that occurs, when you have that roundedness in the load bearing shoulder, all of the effort is going to be placed on that structure because the chest is now no longer able to participate until a certain range of motion or until a certain applicability of recruitment has been established. So if you're doing a push up and you find your shoulders are going back like this because your elbows are going too far back and you can't retract your scapula to see, so I go like this and I can't retract my scapula to get my shoulders back so my chest can get involved, then 100% of my load bearing responsibility is in my delt, which isn't safe. He's doing one arm push ups. He's doing one arm push ups here like a fucking monster because there is very little, if any, rounding in that. Play that. Play that. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's a great one. Love it. That's right. Yeah, I call that pyramiding. Yeah, no pyramiding of the hands, right? Yeah, that's amazing to see, especially with a one arm push up. Let's check that out. See how he stops that range of motion. That shoulder goes no lower than that elbow. That motherfucker is rocking these things. Hmm. Uh, yeah, the our video seems to be buffering a bit here. What's going on with that? But um, yeah, okay. Are we back? We good? We seem to be good. Okay. So the thing here is that with the abrupt shifts, there's very little total body stuff that is not occurring. Like everything is active here, right? Like everything. The um the other thing is that switching his feet the way that he's switching them, as well as the hands going forward, mimics very closely certain types of punches, right? And the power that you're going to have to express with them. So yeah, there's no aspect of training, cardiovascular, building strength, and building power that isn't being worked here. This is phenomenal. Like, well, number one, if you're not going to be training, uh-huh, uh-huh. Uh, well, when they start going down so low because they so the focus here really where you understand the exertion of power, and this is Stallone not at his biggest or strongest, right? He's just starting out in the game. But there is a lot of power in this physique as it stands. So as he's going into this, what I love here, what I love here on the speed bag there is the elbows down. He's doing that with his elbows down, right? You'll see a lot of this elbows up shit. Yeah. But here, whenever he's going into this, and his form is ideal on both sides, whenever he's going into that, and you have a person who um, is not able to exert the load bearing capacity to stop themselves from descending, as soon as that elbow goes lower, I'm sorry, the shoulder goes lower than the elbow, it's time for them to come out of it and switch to something else. Yeah, yeah. That would it would all happen at once. You know, like it would. Yeah. Um. Yeah. All right. Let's see it now. Right here, this one. Come on down. Right there. A little lower. I forgot about this training montage. Pause it when he's at the bottom of the both arm. Okay. Right there. Yeah. His elbows are exceeding his wrists. It's not ideal. It just right. Right. So what I would even say is to take those wrists and land them a little further out. Like those wrists should land out further and be right about there. Um, Now there is some variance, right? There, like as long as the inside or outside edge of the wrist um, is is in line with this portion of the elbow, that's fine. I mean that amount of variance is fine. And he's really close on his what I take to be his left hand here. Not so close on his right hand. Makes me wonder. Yeah. Um, uh, uh-huh. Oh, that's interesting. Well, so I forgot about this in the movie, but it is true that Rocky, one of the big things about him was that he was a southpaw, which means he was a left-handed fighter. Meaning that in the movie at least he was left-handed, right? So that I don't know if Sylvester Stallone is left-handed, but that's certainly the behavior of a left-handed individual. With what's that? Because the stability structure of it is such that the left arm in this one is going to be the one doing all the work. The left pec is going to be the one doing all the load bearing. If you look even at his right foot here and how that's tilted inward, right? Yeah, and that left heel is more aligned with the bottom of the foot. This side, like all of it, is playing the more passive role in these push-ups. That's nitpicky if he can handle it, which he obviously can. He was doing a fucking bang up job on the single arm push-ups, and he's going into these clapping push-ups, and then going to go back into one armed push-ups, right? And even so, his shoulders do not drop below his elbows there. This that shit, like where you're getting hit, that's boxing specific. That's combat specific. You're still going to get promotions and yeah. Now, when he's in this when he's in this meat meat factory and he's like beating the shit out of these slabs of beef, just just know that there are other things that you can do in your life to practice, right? Like you could get old mufflers and hang them up and beat the shit out of those with taped up hands, and that would still be more sanitary. You don't want little bitty bits of shit flying off in your eyes or your like mouth or yeah, it's just not great. Then again, you could look at it as tenderized, you know, pre-tenderization, sure. Um, it's there the potential for injury in this kind of a scenario is great because like those slabs of beef or those slabs of meat, frozen bones, that could just like slide into your hand just as easily as anything. So you really want to watch out for that. Yep. Okay, shows him getting better and still, right, like still exhibiting some really solid form with these things. Mhm. Yeah. All right. So these steps are long and broad in this one, right? Like he's running by these ships on the harbor. These steps are really long. He's really going after it. Looks good. Yeah. Look at that stride. That is a serious speed driven stride. No bricks in his hand on this one, right? Yeah. Although from a boxing standpoint, you don't want to do too much of that forward leaning shit. You know, you want to keep that core as strong as possible. So you nitpick this either way. Sure. Well, yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's just a matter of splitting hairs, you know, honestly, for both of us. Cause I don't know. I mean, there are plenty of times in boxing where you're leaning forward, right? But mainly when you're trying to like clam up, um, you know, you want to stick and move. I mean, that's kind of the whole thing, right? Stick and move, stick and move. Oh, hell yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. When he's doing these long strides like that, that does seem to be the case. When he's doing the short strides, like when he's running with the bricks, that was all the ball to foot. Um, yeah. The way that if I'm working with somebody on how to improve running gait, the way that on just on how to improve running gait, not for a sport like for the sport of running, is similar to the way Douglas Adams described learning how to fly. Like if you're going to teach yourself to fly, you simply have to fall and then miss the ground, right? So that's the way I like try to describe it with running, right? It's like you're trying to keep yourself from stumbling. Um, mhm, mhm. That's awesome, actually, man. Yeah, you know, you can do it once, so that's probably enough. That's right. All right, let's go ahead. Let's see. Yeah, it's a little bit of a uh-huh. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. The caption said every Rocky training montage in order, but they skipped the part where he couldn't make it up those steps. Yeah. This is the pivotal part. When his wife tells him, I think she like had an accident or something, or slipped and fell and went or something. I think that she was pregnant, and as I recall, and then when she woke up out of this like coma, she was like, you need to win this fight. Um, so look, I want to point something out here. When you're training for an event, it requires some shit that you just don't do in your normal life, right? In the real world, we need to remember that this is an actor in a movie about a fighter training for an event. The fighter training for an event also had a regular job, right? Like I think he worked in that meat packing plant, or yeah, something, right? And that requires a lot of early morning ass commitment, and um, and then just a lot of training in general, because not only are you trying to train for the expression of strength, you're also trying to not only are you trying to become stronger, but you're also trying to become better in the sport. So it requires a lot of different kinds of training, and so most of us can only do that in a hobby fashion, right? We all only have so much time during the day, and someone is like, well, we all have the same 24 hours. Not really. Not really. uh we're not taking into account the money that you spend on coaching, or your diet, which is of paramount importance. We're also not talking about the allocation of sleep that you're able to give yourself, which without adequate amounts of, you will not amount to shit in your effort anyway. We're also not looking at any relationships with either a partner or children or community involvement or anything else that this person might be involved in. So there's a lot of commitment present here, right? But there are all, what's that? Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 Or you get like dinner or your drinks bought for you that night, right? Like, yeah, this is for the heavyweight championship of the fucking world, right? In this movie. Um, so anytime you reach 100% capacity, something has to give. So we just have to remember that this is something where this individual has a lot of circumstances that make it available and tenable. And the thing about the first Rocky film in general, was that it was just a luck of the draw that got him the shot anyway. I mean, he was just a person, yeah, he was just a person that kept other people warm in the ring before that. Anyway, all right, so let's continue. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now this part that we're seeing here, right? Yeah, with the single arm pull-ups. Um, yeah, really what you're working on there is grip strength in the one hand. Right. Yeah. Well, no, I mean, because, if you're pulling on the one, so you have the body weight, but then there's also the stabilization, sure. Yeah. But I mean, that's really working a lot with that grip strength. And a strong closed fist equals a strong landing fists. So, yeah. Yep. It is. Is this the one where he's, no. Okay. This seems like it might be the second film. Oh, okay. Yeah. And so it is. Who's this training partner that he has there? Yeah. Well, I don't think the flies honestly look that bad. I don't really like the jerky action of them, but um, whatever. His shoulders are down next to it, away from his ears. He's, I mean, for the position that his spine is sitting at, it's a decent amount of recruitment. It's not like his elbows are tilting way far back, and so it's working specifically like um, Terry's minor and major, or like the lowest portion of the traps, and then biasing like low portion of the traps, Terry's minor major, and then like weak muscle groups like your subscapularis and infraspinatus, right, which sit over and deep onto the shoulder blade. So it's not like they're bad. I just don't like the jerky, like what I call chicken feed. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. 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 Yeah. 100%. And he is essentially asking muscles that the muscles that he's asking to shorten, he's demanding that they lengthen when he does that. I call this chicken neck, because it looks to me like chickens pecking at feed. So whenever I have a client that's doing this during some kind of a rep, I'll just start doing this, like I'm holding a bucket and like I'm throwing chicken feed out, and I'll just start doing like that. Just just to just to make the visual embedded. Well, yeah, and that too. Anyway, but you know, lots of nitpicky. Now, this is the thing that I would say not great. Specifically because you know the hop squats. There's nothing wrong with doing those. There's enough to criticize there when you're doing them loaded. The true, man. The pro the problem there is that when you're doing some kind of a hop squat like that, you're going into a range of motion that is, you are forcing a range of motion that you cannot get to under your own power, right? So for instance, yeah, what's that? No, no, factually. So if I'm, yeah, you can't get there under body weight. If you were to hop down and use like force of gravity or something, but just squatting, just standing there in a static position and squatting down, you would not be able to get your hips that low to your heels. And if you're interested, try it. Like you can even pull with your hamstrings. So go ahead, John, switch over the cameras. Let's see it. Oh, okay. Okay. I think John's gonna try and prove me wrong here. All right. So the deal here is that we all have certain ranges of motion. There's a range of motion that I can have where that I can get to under my own power, right? There's the range of motion within that I can meaningfully express strength, and that is not as broad as the range of motion I have just with unloaded movement, right? So if I'm trying to do a curl, I can do a meaningful curl within the range of motion that I can travel, but not to the limits of it. What do we got going on here? Okay. Okay, so John is rearranging his camera. He's going to try something. Then outside of that, we have the skeletal range of motion. Now, we talked about full range. It's not kind of complicated, but let's say we have a full range of motion. I can travel this to this, right? And even if I activate my bicep, I can go to this. So once you're in this, John, let's say pull with your hamstrings and try and get your hips even lower. I can't hear you, but what? Okay, turn to the side. So when you're at that angle, now what I'm going to get you to do is, okay, there we go. Now we can see here that your hips are a certain level above your heels. Squeeze your knees in together like he has in the video here, just a bit. And then what I'm going to get you to do is try and pull your hips to your heels. Okay, good. Now come up and then lower down like you're trying to slam your hips onto the floor. And quite likely, even though I can't see it here, and we have a little bit of a frame delay, your hips touched your heels. Well, the more you stand up, and the quicker you come down, the more likely you are to hit that. You all right there? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So my reason for saying all that is this: there is a range of motion that you just simply cannot achieve without external force. So, like when you see somebody trying to go into splits, for instance, and somebody else is pushing on their back, right? Even that is okay because the person receiving the assistance is able to say, stop doing that immediately. And the person providing the resistance or the force can go, okay, and take their hands off. When you have a barbell or a log that you're hopping around with, you don't know that your tolerance has been exceeded until after it has been exceeded, right? You're moving kinetically, which all movement is kinetic, but like you're moving, like really, you're moving with a lot of what's that? Yeah, you're moving ballistically and you're loaded. So any damage that you're going to realize, it's going to be realized after the fact. Um, mhm. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Why not? I mean, there's, yes. Either one, both. Um, the thing here, yes. So the thing here is, for instance, if we do this thing again, right? I have a full range of motion. That is the range of motion I can get to under my own power. I can do this with my arm with my tricep flexion. I can do this with my arm with my bicep flexion, and this is as far as I can go. Right? You can see here the background that's present right there, right? And you have that too. And if you hyperflex your bicep, you have a maximum range you can go. Now, if you take your other hand and press down, you'll be able to exceed that, right? But by a decent margin. But that is not that limb getting there under its own power. That is it getting there under external force, which, right, that's right. So, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, the thing about that is, the problem with that is while I'm moving under my own power, I can get out of it under my own power. When you apply external force, you cannot get at that unless the external force immediately is able to mitigate itself. So, so to do that test, if you go and squeeze your hand like that, like squeeze your hand to your shoulder once again, right? And then try to resist that with your arm, that you are hyperflexing or hyperextending, and you won't be able to get out of it. For reference, you can get somebody, grab a friend and get them to do it. And while you may have a significant capability for resistance, extending your arm away from them pushing down on it, when your arm is within the range of motion that it can travel under its own power, once it gets past that point, you will not be coming out of that until they let you, right? Or you move away. Yeah, there are entire fighting arts that are based around that, right? Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Um, all right, let's see it. No, that was it. So is yeah, roll back to the very beginning of that, not to the very beginning, but just to the first couple of. There we go. So you can see here how low those. Yeah. Hmm. Now that when he's doing the steps, far more controlled movement, right? After he picks it up, he goes into a far more controlled movement. Yeah, that looks fine. Nothing really wrong with that. Yeah. Um. So, how do I feel about behind the head presses? I feel like if you find them rewarding, that's you know how I feel about it. Number one, if you find it rewarding. Number two, if it is non-injurious, then any movement is good movement. I don't have an opinion about them one way or the other. I just don't give a shit about them. Right? There's an exercise when an exercise is useful versus when it's bad, right? Like it only meets one of the criteria of a bad exercise of there are other and better ways to get it done, right? So, but it's fine if you do it correctly. it doesn't meet the other criteria of a bad exercise, which is that the potential for injury outweighs the potential for benefit. So if you find it rewarding, great, go ahead. Yeah. I will say this, just like we talked about the metric of with the chest press, if you can't retract your scapula in a flat bench press, right? Meaning if you can't draw your shoulder blade behind you, right, to really present your chest, then you don't have any business taking your elbows behind the posterior border of your rib cage. Because if you can't retract your scapula, then as soon as you take your elbow behind the rib cage, you're going to get that forward tilt of the shoulder. And so from here to here, it's going to be all shoulder bearing that load. Now, when I go back like this, you can see that this happens. I don't have my scapula retracted. When I bring my arm forward and retract my scapula, I can bring my elbow back and no forward tilt. Yeah, very minimal forward tilt. And I was not hyper extending my elbow behind me to make the point. But there's a similar metric that you can apply to an overhead press to determine whether or not, I mean, is it a good exercise? Who cares? Right. But the metric that you should apply to determine whether or not you are ready to do it safely, lay on the ground and take your arms into what I call cactus arms. If your wrists can't touch, not your knuckles, no matter how much you try to do like that to simulate it, if you take your hand and do like this, like you're knocking on a door, and try and lay your wrist on the ground. If you're, there you go, yeah. If you can't do that on both sides, you're not ready to do an overhead, a behind the head overhead press. Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Night and day difference, right? But to that same thing. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. 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 All right, let's see. Yeah. He's got that left elbow way more forward presented than his right one, but whatever. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Um right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay. It's the IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida. Hmm. Okay. Uh-huh. Okay. I did not know that, but I see. All right. Yeah. So yeah. Well, okay, yeah. Yeah, but there's a lot of hip pivot too. So knock knee with hip pivot isn't knock knees. No. All right, let's see. Yeah, getting a little pics. Yeah. All right, we're here to the ads now. Mm. Oh, okay. This is getting a little choppy, a little frame choppy. Okay. Mm-hmm. Um, yeah. Yeah, no, it's cool. I mean, it's still flame choppy, but it's cool. Um, well, yeah, whatever. Um, yeah, I think it's probably the stream. So, well, whatever. All right. I think that's okay. Yeah, that's clear enough. All right. So now we have a bunch of school kids running behind him. I don't know if this is a school day or whatever. Yeah. Hmm. Well, this idea of your arms moving across your midsection does close down your breath capacity. So I would encourage anyone to open up. I had a guy who was a running coach one time, career lifelong runner, tell me that you always want to act like you're carrying a basket. Right, that's how hot that you want to act like you're carrying a basket, and that it's as wide as your rib cage. Yeah, and so uh, I thought that was invaluable. Pull your pistol, use a Q-tip. Okay, yeah, that works. Yeah, okay, all right. Let's yeah, that's about all I got. Yeah, let's put a fork in it here. Um, yeah. Although I got to say, Carl Weathers, you want to talk about an often awesome physique. That that man really had one. Um, he sure did. Yeah, that guy was in phenomenal shape for like pretty much his whole life. I mean, yeah, he was awesome. Anyway, we hope that you enjoyed hanging out with us while we reviewed the first two Rocky films and the training and some of the training montages in there. One thing that we saw in the training montages that was a montage of the montages. The problem was that it only showed the successful bits. Um, you know, like we didn't see any of him fucking up. You know, um, uh, and you yeah, right. And you have to know that when you're first trying out, you're not going to get the cadence just correct. You're not going to get the form correct. I mean, you're not going to get the timing correct. Um, on your lifts, you're going to lift too heavy. You're going to lift too light. You're going to lift poorly. It's a process, right? Um, we have lots and lots and lots of stuff to share with people who are curious. So if you have a question in anything that you've seen, or a question about like why you're stalling or feeling pain or a limitation or whatever, we'd love to share some of that insight with you. So you can find us on any one of our socials. We're at Range Fitness Online everywhere, some iteration of that. We're on Blue Sky, we're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, we're here on Twitch. We are um, uh, at Reddit. That's right. That's the other one I was looking for. Except X. Yeah, we're not on X, we're not on TikTok, but that's mainly me. I have a reluctance for that. So Anyway, if you have any questions, you can reach out to us on any one of those platforms. We're here on Twitch every Tuesday night from 6. Well, both of us are here every Tuesday. John is on Thursday, sometimes on Friday. Oh, just Thursdays for now. Okay, so Tuesdays and Thursdays. So Tuesdays are 6:30 p.m. to around 7:38 p.m. Central U.S. Central Time. What time are you on Thursday? Oh, okay, 5:30 a.m. Wow. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that I will not be joining John on any future planned um, any Thursday morning streams. That's right. Not in the immediate future. Um, it's true. It's a true story. Right. Yeah, you're probably going to bed in 10 minutes. Yeah. Anyway, so if you have a question, please feel free to reach out. Otherwise, we will see you next time. And until then, and don't compensate. John, I'll see you later, sir. Thanks everyone for joining. All right.